Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Unfuck Yourself podcast. We are back with another pre-req. Honestly, I'm going to make these pre-reqs to every course because they're so relevant to any course that we do. But this is a pre-req for the pregnancy series. So if you haven't heard, we have a pre-pregnancy glow, which is getting pregnant and staying pregnant and emotional ingredients for that. We have pregnancy glow, which is breaking down every single possible pregnancy reflection we could think of while you're pregnant and getting you the emotional root cause and tools to shift it so you don't have to deal with that. And also how to basically get your self-image the highest it's actually ever been during pregnancy, which a lot of times for most women, it kind of goes the opposite because of all the body changes and that kind of thing. And then in Pregnancy Glow 2, we have how to prep for labor and the emotional root causes of all the things that I could think of that could go wrong during labor. So we have that too in there. And then we have Post-Pregnancy Glow, or Postpartum Glow, which is how to feel like your hottest self and even more like yourself even after you have a baby in postpartum. Now, obviously, I haven't done that yet because I need to make sure like what I've intuitively got for it and pulled for that works. Got to make sure it works on myself, but I've given it to some friends and it's worked wonders for them so far. So far it looks like it's working, which is great. Anyway, we have another complimentary pre-req for you today on the podcast. So this is super important to know before we go into, honestly, before you do any course, before you go into the pregnancy series too. And even if same thing as last time, even if you don't want to get pregnant, you've already been pregnant, your kids are like 20, you're like good with that, or you never want to get pregnant. What we're going to talk about today is a source scientific universal law that is super, super important to be applied to anywhere in life. And it is a massive key component that you're probably missing in creation / manifestation. So whenever I say creation, just know that's manifesting is what I'm referring to. I just prefer the word creation. So we're diving into the law of preparedness. Now, you might have heard me talk about this before, mention it, but essentially the law is what we are prepared for will not happen. So the law of preparedness is what we are prepared for, literally, metaphysically, cannot happen. Now, this gets super contradicting in the manifesting world because people in the manifesting world have been taught, don't think of the worst case scenario. Don't prepare for anything else other than your plan A. Because if you prepare for anything else other than your plan A, you're basically manifesting plan Z, and then you're going to get fucked, and then you're going to manifest what you don't want. That couldn't be the more opposite from the truth. And I even, to use pregnancy as an example of this, and now you can use anything as an example of this, but I'm pregnant, so that's all I can think about right now. So to use pregnancy as an example, I have a friend who her first pregnancy, she told me, I didn't know her in her first pregnancy, but her first pregnancy, she told me, she was like, Allie, I prepped and I planned and I prepared for a natural, unmedicated birth, and that's the only thing I would visualize, and I did it, and I wanted to do it at home, and I started out at home, and I trained almost for it. Like, that's all I focused on. And then she goes, and I ended up in like a 2-day labor, ended up in the hospital, ended up having to get the drugs and everything. And so she asked me, what can I do differently? Because she had a second baby. She asked me, what can I do differently with this birth that I can, she was asking me kind of about the law of preparedness. And I was explaining to her, if you actually prep for the worst case scenario, like your worst case scenario of this, and if you become 100% okay and neutral about it to the point where you're almost wanting the worst, excuse me, sneeze the truth. Sneezing is always confirmation from the higher self. We always joke about it when anyone sneezes. We can leave that in there, team. We don't have to cut out the sneeze. The sneezes are blessing us. So, train of thought. Oh gosh, I'm pregnant. Here we go. This has been happening to me the past few weeks. Okay. So, if we are preparing for the worst case scenario and we fall in complete love with it to the point where we would almost rather the worst case scenario happen, we now have set ourselves up to not have that happen, because the law of preparedness is what you are prepared for cannot happen. Okay, so I explained to my friend, I was like, if you prepare for another, 2-day labor that you're in and having to get the drugs at the hospital and having to go through all of that, and you can see how that would be the best thing that could happen to you and all the lessons that could come out of that and all the stories and how you could do a story time on TikTok about it. And the video would be so relatable and people would watch it, it would go viral, and you can find all the good things that could come from it. And who doesn't love a good dramatic story to share, at parties or wherever you go, if you go to parties or an event or where you're at a social gathering. Who doesn't love a good dramatic story to share where everyone's like, oh my God, right? If you can get behind why that worst case scenario would be the best thing that could ever happen to you, you start to kind of want it to happen. And here's how we hack the system. Here's how we hack the system with universal laws. What we want to happen, we will push away. So the more we want something, the more we're going to push it away. So the more you start to fall in love with this worst case scenario and see how it would actually be really beneficial for you, the more you're going to want it, and the more then you're not going to get it because you're going to want it. Now, this works against you if you really, 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 really want, in this case, a unmedicated birth and a fast labor and all the great things to go on. And if you really want it to the point where you're just over preparing and you're obsessed with it, what's going to happen is your want is going to be so high, your emotional want. If I were to look at intuitively and clock using scientific backed intuition, clock 0 to 100% being the highest, your level of want of a birth that goes really, really well, isn't super painful. Maybe it's a little uncomfortable, but you're not in pain. Baby just kind of flows right out. It's quick. You're good to go. If you're wanting that too bad, you will put way too much pressure on it. And because of, there's another universal law called the Universal Law of Opposing Forces, which means if you want something, you're not going to get it. So because of the universal law of opposing forces, if you really, really, really want something, that thing that you really, really want has to really, really, really not want you. It will run the other fucking way from you. So what happens is people get really, really hyper fixated on this is what I want. This is how I need the situation to go. And then what happens is that because they really, really, really want it, well, now they're pushing their dream scenario away. And then they end up in the opposite scenario. So people who, have learned manifesting, most people haven't learned about the law of preparedness. And you've learned to kind of just any fear, whatever you have, just kind of push it to the side. Don't think about it. You hear a lot in the manifestation world of don't think about the thing you don't want. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Don't pull it in to your universe. Don't pull it into your energy. And here's the thing. If you're really, really wanting something, that means there's something in you that really, really doesn't want probably the opposite. Okay. So you're really, really want for something. You have something in you that really, really does not want the opposite. And what's going to happen is that because of how the universe works, universal laws and law of opposing forces, you are going to push away the thing you want and you're going to pull in the thing you don't want, because there's that fear in you, or there's that emotion in you still. Also, what happens in the manifestation world that we It's just not, it's not your fault. It's just you've been given bad information. But what happens is you will be told, okay, for the thing you want, for example, you want something, you will be told to visualize it, to feel the feelings of it, to feel like it already happened. You're going to be told a lot of that stuff in the manifestation world. But what no one tells you is, have you looked at your own emotions, your own mentality, and your own physical actions that you make daily that are not making you an energetic match to that thing? So for birth, for example, if you are visualizing the best possible labor and you're doing so much work around acting like it already happened and celebrating as if it already happened, yes, that's a component of creation, but that is not the full thing. That's actually probably 17% of it or less. There's so much more missing parts that are not taught to you. So for example, in birth, if I want to make sure my vagina doesn't tear when I am giving birth, just visualizing it not tearing and feeling the feelings of it not tearing and feeling how it would feel after if it didn't tear is not enough. There is an emotional root cause to everything, like we talked about in the last pre-req podcast episode, right? And if you haven't listened to the last one, go listen to the podcast episode right before this one and it will explain that to you. But there is an emotional root cause to every single situation, circumstance, event, body ailment, how a person's treating you, whatever it is in your life. You have somehow created that happening with an imbalanced emotion that you have and are just doing every day, whether you realize it or not. So whether you realize this emotion's running your life or not, it's running your life. So if my vagina were to tear during pregnancy, that emotional root cause is feeling like it's insanely painful and to birth what I want into the world. Okay. So feeling like it's it's painful, but it's also like I have to move things too much around to birth what I want into the world. Like ideas, it could be ideas with career or with literally anything. So because of that, right? Let's say you feel that way in your life, okay? Let's say in your career, you feel like it's super, super painful to birth what you want into the world. Let's just use that as an example. And you feel that way in your career area of life. Well, you can visualize your vagina not tearing until the cows come home. But if you have high levels of feeling like it's painful to birth what you want into the world, your visualization won't do fucking shit with shit when you're giving birth. What's going to happen is you are going to be a match for your vagina to tear because you are 98% out of 100% in an emotion of feeling like it's super painful to birth what you want into the world. So your visualization and you're feeling the feelings as if it was great will not work because your own emotions, your own reflections will override that. So the law of preparedness comes in when we understand that, okay, let me look in intuitively. Let me find a course, let me find somebody, let me figure out somehow, some way to see all the things that I don't want to happen during birth. And let's see what percent of an energetic match my emotions are to those things. Another one, for example, if you don't want a long labor, that would mean feeling like feeling like your ideas take so long to manifest into the physical. So if you create a long labor for yourself, you have an emotional root cause somewhere in some area of life, usually career, but it could really be in financial area of life. It could be anywhere. but you feel like your ideas take so long to manifest into physical reality. Okay, that's another one. So if you feel that way and you have high levels of feeling that way, you just visualizing a short birth or feeling the feelings of how great you felt after your short birth, your 2-hour labor, will not override your emotional imbalances. Your emotional imbalances will always, always, always override any other manifestation tool that you ever do. You cannot out-manifest your emotional imbalances. It will never, ever work. You can't ignore your emotional imbalances and try and visualize happy, positive butterflies over here and try and suppress what's going on over here. 10 out of 10 times, all the time, forever and ever and ever, your emotional imbalances and what you're trying to ignore and what you're pushing down will always override whatever you're trying to happy-go-lucky visualize and manifest. So instead of getting another manifestation tool from social media and trying to implement that and writing it on a piece of paper 25 times and putting it under your pillow and sleeping on it, it's time to start actually addressing these emotional imbalances. So you have to go look at, okay, one, you have to understand what emotional imbalance causes what outcome, right? So that's a thing that we're doing in Pre-Pregnancy Glow and all the pregnancy series, right? And the labor part is in Pregnancy Glow. You have to first know what equals what, like what is the emotional imbalance for each thing, just like we talked about with a long labor. So if you're an energetic match for a long labor, let's say you are a 92% match for a long labor, which means you 92% feel like that it takes a very, very long time for your ideas and your projects or whatever it is to manifest into the physical. So if you feel like that takes a very long time, you are making yourself an energetic match for a long labor. So here's where the law of preparedness comes in. For example, you take this scenario and you go, okay, wow, I feel like, even if you don't know how to work your intuition yet, you'll have a feeling of like, no, I definitely feel like that. Like I definitely feel like my ideas take a long time. Like you're very self-aware. Like even if you haven't learned how to intuitively test percentages yet of how much you feel like that, you're self-aware enough to know if you feel like that or not. So if you're like, oh fuck, like I definitely feel like my ideas take a long time to manifest into physical reality, or they like fucking never do, that probably means you're a pretty high match for a long labor, right? And many other things in many other areas of life. So even if you're not trying to get pregnant, I would still solve this problem, because I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to feel like my ideas take a very long time to manifest. I would like my ideas to manifest quickly. So for so many other reasons, like more career success, more money, better relationships, so many other reasons to want to fix this. But if you do ever get pregnant, you won't have to deal with it then. So a great time. You don't have to be wanting to get pregnant to come to this course. It's really like a lot of life hacks to get your career thriving, really. Any pregnancy reflection usually relates back to career or finances. So you can just come get some tools for that too. So here's where the law of preparedness comes in. If you can go through every single thing that could possibly happen during labor that you don't want to happen, and you can test your energetic match to each of those things, well, now you start to go, okay, how do I fix this emotion? You start to go fix the emotion. You start to go prove to yourself, and there's so many tools that we have for you in our programs. We will have for you in the pregnancy series, but there's tools where you can go and you can start to rewire your neural pathways in your brain, rewire your subconscious, rewire your energy field, rewire your creator field, rewire how you're thinking, feeling, being, living, and the actions you're taking to bring that level down to the point where you start to feel like, oh my gosh, what I create actually does manifest really fast, or that my ideas actually do happen really quick, and you can start to retrain your belief system around that. Well, now the more you feel like your ideas start to get created really quick, well, now what's going to happen is you're going to shorten and shorten and shorten and shorten and shorten your labor. So then you go to the next one. What else could go wrong during labor? A C-section, right? If you don't want a C-section, or your vagina tearing, or preeclampsia, or the cord around the baby's neck, right? All those things are you creating that somehow with an imbalance of emotion. So you can go down, and now you're like taking what would be the worst case scenario and you're facing it head on. You're facing it head on by going, okay, I'm a match for this. Ooh, don't love that. Let's shift my emotions, get my energetic match down, no longer be a match for it. So you're like very carefully cultivating and controlling every aspect of your experience, which is really, really cool in my opinion. Like, I think having complete control over an experience is really, really fucking cool in my opinion. And so now you've prepared because you've gone, okay, I don't want this to happen. It feels like I definitely agree with that feeling of, I feel like it takes me a long time to create what I want in life. So let me fix that. Let me prove to myself how that's not true. Get that emotion down, get yourself feeling the opposite, get yourself feeling like, no, my ideas actually do really, come to fruition pretty quickly, whether they're big or small. And we have tools and ways to do this in our programs. And then from there, you now have a fast labor. Okay, you want your labor to not be super painful. Okay, there's an emotional root cause to that. Okay, you want to feel like you, aren't holding on to any extra unnecessary fat after labor. Okay, there's an emotional root cause to that. There's so many things that will trump visualizing and just thinking about the best outcome any day. Those things, visualizing and just the best possible outcome, that maybe helps, that adds about 17% to your creations. The other stuff you create from your emotions, whether you realize you're having emotions or not. Manifesting what you want in life is nothing more than fixing your emotions, fixing your beliefs, and fixing your actions. It is not thinking about the best possible outcome and then ignoring all your other emotional shit that you have going on and running your life. It's not thinking about, I always use this example, but it's not like thinking about, I want this incredible husband, but I'm going to answer the 12 a.m. booty call. You're visualizing this incredible husband, but you're answering the 12 a.m. booty call. And so your beliefs and what you're making yourself available to, and the emotions that are making you answer that 12 a.m. booty call, and the action of answering the booty call is not doing the emotion and the mental and the physical work that you need to do to actually get the outcome you want. So how you feel every single day, your beliefs you have every single day, your actions you take every single day, always, always, always way outdo visualizing and thinking of the best possible outcome when it comes to manifesting. You can save your time with all of the manifesting tools that you see on the internet, and you can just fix your emotions, and fixing your emotions will fix your actions, and that will fix your literal life. So that is part of the law of preparedness. Okay, that's one part. That is breaking down, okay, what is the worst case scenario and how much am I a match to this worst case scenario? And let's go and dive in and fix my emotions to guarantee that I don't go create this. And now when I gave this to my friend I was telling you about, who then had her second baby, her labor was so much shorter, so much easier, unmedicated. And she, of course, did all her work before even asking that question. It wasn't just because of, me telling her this, but it was, she got like, she understood, oh my gosh, I put too much pressure on a non-medicated, like easy birth last time. And so she became very neutral about it this time. So how you become neutral is no longer wanting. And no longer wanting is, so here's the thing, we only want something because deep down we feel like we don't have it, okay? So we want a fast labor because we feel like we can't create things fast in our lives. Make sense? We want a fast labor because we feel like we cannot create things fast in our lives. That's why we want a fast labor. So if we start to feel like, oh, I can create things fast in my life, no big deal, we stop wanting a fast labor. We just feel like we can create things easily. So it's like, we're not thinking about it. We're not like in this high level of want about it. Makes sense? Same thing with money. If you're really wanting money, it probably means you don't fucking have it, or you feel like you don't have it, or you feel like you can't create it. But if you feel like you have money, and if you feel like you can easily create it, then it just is. Like, that's just how you are. That's just how you be. You're not in a state of like want for it. If you're not in a state of want, you end up getting more of it. So the law of preparedness brings down your want, which then works hand in hand with the law of opposing forces. The more you want something, the more you push you away. So if you bring down your want, the more you're going to get that thing. Now, there's a second part of the law of preparedness, and all of this we work on like tools and get a lot more, advanced on in programs and in the pregnancy programs and series. This is just like very high level, like this is 0.00001% of the information we have here on this stuff. But even though it's like the foundational idea of this, it's still like super advanced. So the second part of the law of preparedness is making love, like literally licking, wanting to fuck the worst case scenario, like being obsessed with the worst case scenario, like being so in love with if the worst case scenario happened and all the things it could bring you. So for example, if I would obviously love a short, easy, painless labor, like who the fuck wouldn't? But if I had a 3-day labor and it ended up with an epidural and it ended up with my blood pressure dropping from the epidural and then the baby's heart rate dropping and then we got to get a C-section because the baby's heart rate's dropping because of the epidural and then we get a C-section and then it just turns into this fucking clusterfuck. And now I have a C-section, now I have a massive scar, all these things. How is that the best thing that could ever happen to me? And there's so many tools we have for this and how to get here in our programs. But I just want you to start to like marinate in that. Like, how would the worst case scenario be the best fucking thing ever to happen to me? And when you can fall in love with that, you then are no longer attached to that like quote dream scenario in your head, because you see, here's now another universal law, the law of balance, but you see the law of balance coming in, okay? You see the bad and good in everything. The bad in my dream birth scenario happening is it makes me so unrelatable and people will hate me because they're like, fuck you, bitch, your birth was so easy. Like mine was so fucking hard. Like, what the fuck? Right? Like, I don't want to learn from you, even though they don't know why it was easy. It was because of all these back end things I did. But if I had some like crazy dramatic birth story, people would feel like they could relate to me more. They would feel more understood. I would have a fun story to tell. Could probably tell it on social media and it would go viral and that would get the business more seen. And the clothing brand I'm starting more seen because it would link into that. So there's so many, I would learn so much. Like obviously, clearly, if all that happens, I clearly miss something. If I'm in labor for 40 hours or 3 days or whatever the fuck, and I have a C-section and I have all these things go wrong, I clearly miss something emotionally, which happens all the time, right? That we miss things emotionally that I didn't think to like look at or look into. And now I'm learning. So now I'm like pulling things in and learning new tools and learning new information so that I can pass that down. And of course, so that other people don't have to go through that and deal with that. It's kind of like the pre-req episode when I told you about how I was in the hospital at 28 weeks pregnant, having like full-blown contractions. I didn't know that was a thing that could happen. So I didn't know to look in on that to make sure my emotions wouldn't create that. But now I know. Now I have that tool under my belt. So now I know how to not recreate that for myself and how to teach other people to not be a match for early contractions or to irritated uterus and everything else that was going on. So now I have that under my belt. So if I were to have a 3-day labor, C-section, epidural, all these things, clearly I emotionally missed something, and it's here to teach me something. Not only is it here to teach me something so I can go teach other people, but so I can upgrade and up-level my life. I would massively upgrade my career and finances if those things happen, because I would look in and see what made me an energetic match to make them happen. And if I then shift, if I have a high level of feeling like things take a really long time to manifest, my ideas take a really long time to get manifested and created into the world. So that's why my labor was 3 fucking days. Well, who wants to feel like that, and who wants to create that, right? Like in career, if I feel that way, that's what I'm creating in career, and things are going way slower in career and way slower in finances than they actually have to. So if I have a long labor and that happens, the best thing about that is, oh, I realize how much I feel like it takes a really long time for me to put ideas into the world, and let me fix that feeling. And the more I fix that feeling, the faster I'll have career success, the faster I'll make money. So all these things end up getting you the outcome you want. It's just a matter of like how you are doing it. And if you want to go through the hard way, or you want to kind of shortcut and prepare before it happens, and then you don't have to go through the hard way. But either way, you're getting incredible lessons, and either way, it is the best case scenario of what you need to get what you want in your life, specifically with this in career and finances. So this is kind of just an introduction to the law of preparedness. It's a bit of a shorter episode today, a shorter little pre-req, but I just want you to start here. Again, this is like 0.0001% of the information that we have on this law and that we teach. And we have so many tools to work with this law inside of our programs that are always weeded into the programs, and it will be a big part of the Pregnancy Glow, just whole program series. So what I want you to start doing is just think about, it could be any scenario in your life, or maybe you're here because it is a pregnancy thing, but think about the scenario that you want to create right now. It could be with anything. And then think about, what is the worst case scenario of this? Like, it doesn't happen. Nobody, let's say you're writing a book, nobody picks up the book, nobody wants to read the book. Like, what is the absolute worst case scenario? And I want you to start to see if you can start to work with yourself to feel into why that could be the best thing to happen for you. So again, that's easier said than done. We have a lot of tools for you inside the programs inside of a pregnancy series to help you with this, but you're really advanced. I know you're gonna do this way faster than I ever did. So I have faith that you can totally do this, and or at least start this, and start to just really feel into like, wait, why could that be the best thing to actually happen? You're gonna immediately start to get your want down. Now, the law of preparedness, we want to make sure, because when people have like insane anxiety and they're like preparing for the worst all the time, and then they end up like creating it because they have so much like emotional attachment toward it and there's so much anxiety. Law of preparedness is not from an anxious place. The law of preparedness to have it work for you in your favor, it's from a place of, I deserve the best outcome. So it's not from like this anxious, oh my God, what if, I'm scared. But it's from a place of, I deserve the best outcome. I deserve the best upgrades in my life. We want to make sure that we're approaching this from, I deserve the best outcomes and upgrades, versus, oh my God, I'm so scared, I'm in fear. Like I have to go make sure I have everything, and it's because the worst is going to happen. Very two different emotions. We do not want to approach the law of preparedness from the anxious, scared, fear emotion. Okay, start with this. Lots more where this came from, but I wanted to start to get the law of preparedness in your mind and in your awareness as a prereq to these programs, because we're going to be talking a lot about it in there. And remember, what we are prepared for cannot happen. So it's a really, really cool way to hack the system and control the outcomes, not just in pregnancy, but in any area of your life: career, finances, relationships, health, whatever it is. Okay, listen to this, sit with this for a little bit, and then we will continue this conversation inside the Pregnancy Glow series. Okay, you guys, great little podcast today. I will see you very soon.